Namo Amida Butsu. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whenever you are, in whichever realms of existence you are, whatever mind states you're in, whatever conditions you're in. As always, you're welcome to my channel. Oh, and being joined by the animal realm early on in this video. I guess she's taking me at my word. All are welcome. Wherever you are, whenever you are, whatever realm you're in, you're welcome. So my cat is taking me at my word. Right. So today I wanted to talk about some relaxation, I guess would be the way to put it, that's occurred with me in my Jodo Shinshu path of late. I suppose it's been a gradual thing, and I've kind of touched on this in other videos, but it's really becoming more and more kind of apparent in my experience that I'm just more and more relaxing and letting the teachings just be the teachings and letting life be life. And what I mean by that last statement is I made a video a while back, a little while ago, I should say, I don't know, weeks ago, several weeks ago maybe, that about sort of, what happens when when you encounter the light of Amida. What happened to me anyway in encountering the light of Amida and the working of Amida, that I see things that I wouldn't have seen any other way. And I see things, and I talked about them as kind of dark, stark kind of truths. And they are. They certainly are about life. But it's more just accepting the reality of samsaric existence is what it is. And I think Amida enabling me more and more to be able to do that, along with just more and more being able to just accept the teaching as the teaching and not try so hard to figure it out, not try so hard to kind of understand it in my own understanding, if you see what I mean, through my own ability to understand, through my own self-power, as it were. Just letting the teaching come to me, which is what the whole point of it is it's coming from Amida. It's all coming from Amida. The teaching, the practice, the realization, the Shinjin, it's all coming from Amida. And so I'm more and more able to just accept that and kind of just roll with that while I'm reading, while I'm deeply listening, when I'm reflecting, when I'm in Dharma dialogue. And also that means accepting my own limitations. It's, more and more be able to accept my own bamboo limitations and my own bamboo ignorance, and just realizing, like, there's no way you'd be able to figure it out anyway. There's no way you'd be able to understand it anyway. There's no way you'd be able to conceive of it anyway. It's inconceivable. So just go with it. Let the teaching be simple. Don't keep it simple. Don't try to make it simple. Don't try to simplify it. Don't try to just let it be the simple teaching that it is. And let the teaching be what it is. And let it come to you. That's because it ain't coming from me. It ain't coming from me understanding it and calculating and figuring it out. It's coming from Amida. It's all coming from his side. It's all coming from Amida. So that's part of the acceptance. And so part of it, when I say the acceptance, of life as life, it's more just being realistic about samsaric existence, being realistic about my own existence in samsara existence, and our collective, being realistic about other people and other beings in samsara existence, being realistic about how that all kind of works as best I can understand it within my own karmic causes and conditions, limitations, as a bamboo, and so on. And accepting things about the way I see that. So on one hand, accepting that it's Amida that's illuminating things for me. It's Amida that's making any understanding of anything when it comes to the teachings, when it comes to samsaric existence. It's anything that's coming from Amida, Amida's illumination. And so it's on the one hand accepting that, on the other hand accepting my own limitations and my perceptions and my ignorance. My perceptions are not going to be of what samsaric existence is, of what the true reality is. Certainly is just going to be wrong, and I see it as samsaric. I experience it as samsara, not as nirvana, and I accept that. I just accept that. I'm a bamboo. I'm an ordinary being. I'm an unenlightened being. So I experience samsara as samsara, as the samsariest thing. And it's samsari for sure. So, and part of that is I'm able to relax because I'm no longer trying to be, I'm less, I should say, not no longer, I should say less and less trying to be something I'm not. Less and less trying to be something I'm not in so many different ways. It goes, and that's just beyond the specifics of my Jodo Shinshu Buddhist spiritual path. It's everything in life. Amida accepts me as I am. Amida accepts everything as it is. So, and I'm not certainly comparing myself to Amida, but anyway, I'm able to relax because there's things I realized about like life that I wouldn't have learned any other way. I've said this in another video. Really, like it's like completely different than what I was incorrectly informed about life and reality by society, by the education system, by my family, by other religions other than Buddhism, by just your culture, my culture, by what's the word I'm looking for? Just the all the things that go into molding your mind and personality and life. I mean, that's ultimately my own karmic causes and conditions and our collective karmic causes and conditions that shape that mold that. But I mean, within this samsaric existence, the context of that, all those things, all those institutions that incorrectly inform you about the way life is, and all these fantasy ideals that you're given, all these fantasy things about how people should get along, and how um, and people's abilities and people's this and people's that. Um, it was all completely incorrect. um, what I've been informed, what we've been informed of by, and that's because we live them. We we're born into and grow up in, because of our own karma causes and conditions. We were born into and grow up in amongst ignorant beings. We're also ignorant and comprise the and within communities, societies, nations that are comprised of ignorant beings, and all the culture and all the institutions of them are come about and evolve and develop through ignorant beings. And so it just passes on all kinds of nonsense, all kinds of incorrect information to you, completely total rubbish. And for a long time, I guess out of habit and also out of just wanting, I didn't want these things to be the truth. There was some parts of me that was still holding on to those ideals and mores and norms, and propaganda and programming and socialization and all those things. I was still hanging on to what they tried to and did inculcate into me about how life works, about how society works, about human beings, about groups of human beings, um, on various levels of groups of human beings. Um, and, so there was this struggle within me to um, try to stay in that and really embrace this incorrect, total BS that you're taught through, very and just is just inculcated into you over your lifetime. And I tried to embrace it. Some of it, and some of it I would be discarding along the way, and gradually here and there discarding aspects of it. But I was still trying to hang on to aspects of it. I was still trying to, things that I perceived as good things, and they are. There's these really good things about those things that, good good values, good values, good ideals, but unfortunately they don't jive with reality. They just don't. They just don't. And so in the last few years, particularly when I've deepened my immersement, I'd say the last several years, really, the last several years, let's say, as I've deepened my immersement in the Jodo Shinshu teachings, in the Jodo Shinshu Buddhist path, in the in all in Dharma dialogue, in being involved with the Sangha, in all those things, just deepening those things and deepening, and all that while that was deepening because Amida was enabling me gradually, slowly, water on stone, gradually, slowly bringing me further and further toward him, or bringing his teaching, his mind, his light toward me. However all that works, doesn't matter. It's Amida's doing it, and it's inconceivable. But so as that's happened over the past several years, in particular, of my Jodo Shinshu Buddhist path, which really means Amida Buddha's Jodo Shinshu Buddhist path working in me. Let's put it that way. Um, I've gradually been letting go of different aspects of that. And I had, even before this past several years, been letting go with a lot of stuff. Really since my first encounter with Buddhism in high school to this day, gradually, because of that, through and before I even knew about Amida and knew about Pure Land Buddhism or anything, or really understood any of those teachings, Amida's light was working on me through, provisionally, means through the Buddhist teachings, and so during that time I was, letting go of a lot of stuff and life experiences that I had. Again, no doubt, arranged through, the causes and conditions and Buddhism, Bodhisattvas, through the working of Amida, and through the working of Amida's vow. But through, experiences in my life, I would let go of things. I saw, because of certain experiences and certain, just realizing certain things about life, you just start letting go of things. You start realizing, okay, that's total rubbish. That's utter BS. That's other, you just start to lose all that BS that you're taught. Especially if you're a Buddhist. I think if you're a Buddhist, or if you're just somebody who looks deeply at life, or has had experiences in life that have forced you to be able to, or to have to, look at life in a different way. And I've had all three of those in my life. I've had all three of those. As my karma, causes and conditions. I've experienced some really horrible things in life. I've both acute experiences, and experiences over a lifetime, of things that just, anyway, I won't get into all that, but what I'm trying to say is, so this process started a long time ago in this, in this provisional existence, in this rebirth. It started a long time ago. So, I started letting go of things, but particularly the last several years, it's been, and there's been these I've talked about this before too, these punctuated points. There's these points where you experience something in life, or you realize something in life, and everything, and the way you see everything and experiencing things after that is completely different than before that event, or before that realization, or before that experience. And I've had, several of those experiences over the time where it just drastically changes your outlook. So all of that cumulatively to up to this point, but the last several years, in particular, wow, that process has accelerated through Amida's light. And so the whole reason I'm trying to explain all that is that, there were things I was trying to hang on to, trying to still embody, trying to still let be aspirational for me, to guide my life, guide my ethics, guide my politics, guide my outlook on life, guide my, all that stuff, all that. And I realized I was still hanging on to BS. And even though I realized that, I was still trying to hang on to it. And it's just been really recently, like I'd say over the past year, several months to a year, where there's been just realizing the reality as much as I can, as much as this particular ignorant being can kind of perceive things, but just seeing through it because of Amida's light, seeing through a lot of things that I would have never dreamed. It wasn't even a concept. It wouldn't have even been a concept for me. But I've seen through. And so uh, even several weeks ago, I still experienced that as something kind of. It was kind of dark and stark to realize these things, and it just sucked. And there's a video a while back that I did where I talk about this. But I've come over this past several weeks. I've come to kind of start just accepting those things, just accepting that. And again, I think this is because of Amida's working, and Amida's light, and Amida's vow, and Amida's other power. Just accepting it, accepting my reactions to things, accepting my my perceptions of things, just accepting it as it is, because it can't be any other way. I'm an ignorant being. I'm not going to see things the way a Buddha does. I'm not going to be able to respond to things the way a Bodhisattva does. I'm not going to be able to act, speak, and perceive things as an enlightened being does. I'm not going to be able to have the role of a higher being that works for Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. I'm just not. So I'm not, I just am not. And so therefore I can't have these ideals that I once had. There's no way. I can't, as a human being in samsaric existence, having experienced the things I've experienced, I just can't. Having the karmic causes and conditions, having the life that I do in samsara, there's ways that I'm going to see things and respond to them that I gotta accept. And also things I see about other people, about society, about the world, the way things work in the world, groups of people on many different levels that I see. I see that in samsaric reality, the way I see it now is much closer. That's much more it jives with my experience and what the teachings of Buddhism say than what the aspirations that I was taught and these ideals I was taught. And do you see what I'm saying? Now, at the same time, Amida, encountering Amida's light and the working of Amida, I naturally do want to turn away from evil. There's things in the writings about that. In Shinron's writings about, because of the working of Amida, because of encountering Amida's light, you naturally want to turn away from it. We're still going to be Bombo. We're still going to have all of our Bono and kleshas to the last moment of our breath, to the last moment of our life. They're never going to cease. But at the same time, we have Amida's, we're given Amida's light and Amida's mind, and Amida transforms our, past, present, and future karma into the ultimate good, into the highest good. And part of that is, somewhere in there is that we naturally do change. And I've seen that happen. I naturally change. And that's what I see part of this. That's what I see in this process. Not just me seeing life, through Amida's light, but it's transforming me. So that I react differently. And so there was this struggle that, because what I thought was good was not necessarily good. What I thought was bad, it was not necessarily bad. what I thought was what you should strive for was not what you should necessarily strive for, or or what I thought were ideals. These ideals that we have and these values, they weren't ideal. I realized they weren't ideal, and they realized they just couldn't be. So part of this for me has been just letting go of that, just letting go so much, because it isn't the way life is. And me trying to impose something on it that isn't life, that's not samsara, is never going to be that way. Human beings in samsara are never going to be that way. That these ideals and these values teach you is such total BS. It's such total BS that we're incorrectly taught. And there's somewhere in one of the sutras, one of the Pure Land Sutras, where it talks about that, how we're just taught the most. I think it's the larger sutra. We're just taught the most ridiculous, untrue, like we're just taught all the wrong perceptions, totally taught the wrong things, and it's just passed on, through our families and through our societies and through our whatever, and it's just a relief. It's such a relief to start to be gradually letting go of those things. And to see that, and to look back and see that process as Amida's working, as Amida's light, as Amida's influence, as Amida's power, doing that in my life over this whole entire lifetime, this entire rebirth, can see that process happening. But at an accelerated rate. As when I first encountered Buddhism, as I say, back in high school, and then onward from there, but particularly the last several years, and particularly the last several months, it's such a relief to just let it go, and just let go how. Not imposing on that. Now, I'm not saying I'm just letting myself be, I'm not talking about, letting go of acting responsibly, letting go. I'm not talking about that. I'm still want to act responsibly. I still want to act ethically. I still want to act within the Buddhist, social teachings as best I can, within, what the Buddha taught, within what Shinran and Renyo and Honen gave us as guidelines for living. I still want to do that, and I still have a genuine desire, naturally want to do that. But it's just letting go of the BS part of it, letting go of the aspirational BS, the idealistic BS, the just all that nonsense. It's kind of like there's a line in Fight Club where the narrator says, Either I lost all hope, losing all hope was freedom, or he says, I found freedom, losing all hope was freedom. Whichever it is, that's definitely applies here. Losing all hope was freedom. And what I mean by that is losing all hope in samsaric existence. And that's, again, this is losing all hope in samsaric existence has been a process of decades in my life, but particularly accelerated since Buddhism and since Pure Land Buddhism and since my Jodo Shinshu path and the past several years and the past several months. Losing hope in samsaric existence is freedom. That's I suppose what I'm trying to say here. Through Amida, gaining hope, losing losing hope in samsaric, losing all hope in samsaric existence was freedom, and gaining more and more hope in Amida, gaining more and more hope in Buddhism, gaining more and more hope in samsara is none other than nirvana. Not that I can actually remotely get that last statement, but you get the idea. So I think this reflection has gone on for as long as it had to, speaking of utilizing Fight Club phrases. I'll see you next time. Say some Nabutsu to take the video out as usual. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu. Until next time.